Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the December 27th edition of Monday Night Raw for 2021, and ultimately, not exactly a show worth watching, but when is Raw a show worth watching anymore? They had many COVID-related challenges, apparently. Randy Orton and Riddle entered as the announcers run down the show for the night. And so they seem to get a decent enough reaction. Riddle has a Christian card, but Orton chucked it aside. Riddle is acting like he's happy until Orton is basically acting unhappy, and so that's kind of where that goes. I mean, ultimately, these skits are A, ridiculous, and B, time fillers. Riddle said he was off last week to do some self-reflection, and he wanted to find his inner viper, but he started turning green and began growing scales. Orton suggested he see a doctor. This was actually half funny. Orton shows a replay of his match last week. Riddle acted like he was showing something on the big screen was really cool. Riddle did some more comedy that gets no reaction because he's not funny in this role. Orton cut them off again. Riddle claimed that he's Randy's best friend. They're interrupted by Chad Gable and Otis. Gable puts over Otis before speaking on his own. Master's degree in 4.0 GPA average. Gable then received some boos, so he insulted the mindless Detroit crowd for booing education. He said Orton had no chance against Otis and warned them that they would be the next champions. Riddle finally got a reaction and then said there was a fan, and he was a fan of higher education. He challenged Gable to a match right now. Gable called him an ignoramus. Before accepting, Riddle told Gable to get his big, beautiful brain in the ring so he could give him an RKO. Riddle defeats Chad Gable in 4 minutes. Why even bother with this? Anyway, Gable used a tiger suplex, get a near fall before Riddle blocked a moonsault attempt. Gable then flies an ankle lock, but Riddle rolls out of it. Gable then tries a rolling German suplex, but Riddle flips out before he could hit a floating bro for the pinfall win. They could easily have given this more time with what's left in the show. Otis attacks Riddle and waits for Orton to enter the ring, so they go to break. And then Randy Orton with Riddle defeats Otis with Chad Gable. With all the cuts that they've made, why is Otis still employed? Otis blocks a couple of RKO attempts, but runs into the steel steps. Orton dodges a charge. Orton then follows up with a draping DDT, but Otis blocks the RKO again and hits a World's Strongest Slam. Otis didn't go for the cover and instead went for a Vader Bomb, but Orton avoids it and hits an RKO for pinfall win. After the match, Riddle told Orton how proud he was of him for hitting the RKO, but told him it was time for a present. Riddle then said nothing more he'd appreciate than a big hug. Orton hesitates before giving him a hug. Orton teased giving him an RKO, but then they laughed and hugged before Orton walked away. Then Kevin Patrick interviews Kevin Owens. Patrick aired a promo Big E sent via cell phone where he spoke about the importance of being champion and why he would retain the title day one. Big E said he's about his story getting to the top and knowing that you don't come this far only to come this far. Owens makes fun of Big E, saying how much it meant that he's there every week, except this week, before telling Kevin Patrick he needed a new first name. Owens then said he would be the next champion. Before he left, Owens told Patrick that his name was Brett now. Owens gets a few laughs during the interview because, well, he could be a better babyface than heel in the role that he's in. Mixed tag match, 24/7 champion Dana Brooke and Reggie defeats Tamina and R-Truth. 247 out announcers seemed under the impression that the men and women can't be in the ring at the same time, but that's not how it was called. By the way, there was a Veer promo that we missed. Tamina tries attacking Truth after the match, but that's after Tamina gives Reggie a super kick at one point. Reggie eventually pins Truth with a roll-up for the win in a match that really doesn't matter. Then we go to Megan interviewing Nikki Ash. Nikki is under the impression that she's inspired Rhea Ripley to win her match last week. Nikki challenged Queen Zelina and Carmella to a tag team match later. Last week, Nikki is a real human adult. Closed her interview by saying, "Boom, zap, kapow," and we go into the second hour. Long video package for Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. Street Profits defeats Dominic and Rey Mysterio, 12:06. Mysterios have a bit of an edge before the commercial break, but Montez Ford is in control over Dominic following the break. Dominic hits a counter before Rey tags in and hits Dawkins with a seated senton, springboard, crossbody. Dawkins avoids 619, hits a spinning back elbow on Rey for a 2 count, hits a tornado DDT for another 2 count. Dawkins then gives Rey a silencer. Ford follows up big time frog splash, but Dominic breaks off the cover. Rey then gives Ford 619 before wiping out Dawkins with a dive. Dominic gives Ford frog splash and a near fall. They set up Ford for the double 619, but Dawkins knocks down Rey. Dominic does a 619, but Dawkins caught him on his shoulders, and Ford hits a blockbuster for a pinfall win. Street Profits will face Orton and Riddle for the tag team titles. Nice enough match, but Dominic strikes out. Weak link from the standpoint, and the right team does manage to pick up a win. Not that anyone is going to remember this in a week. Backstage, Miz yells at some guy for getting him the wrong flowers. Miz introduces his officiant for tonight, Eric Bischoff. And obviously, Bischoff looks pretty excited. Video package AJ Styles almost. That's scheduled for tonight. Apparently has been moved. Styles wondered why almost. Where almost was and wondered if he was afraid to live up to his expectations. Styles admitted to being afraid of that very thing early in his own career, but says he's never selfish or unappreciative. Styles then said almost should pay his dues. Styles himself had 20 years of experience and threatened to kick almost in the teeth when they meet in the ring. Styles noticed Grayson Waller being loud in the front row. Styles introduces him to the WWE audience. Waller figured he'd visit Styles on Raw since Waller was visited on NXT. Waller then notes how easy it is to get under Styles' skin. He planned on taking Styles' spot when he's done with him. Styles said that that's where stars were made, but Waller was no star. Styles offered to show him around and offered to give him a phenomenal forearm so he could count the lights. And Apollo Crews, rather, and Commander Aziz interrupt. Commander Aziz challenged Styles to a fight since almost wasn't there. Styles accepts because he's stupid. Anyway, Montez interviews Carmella, asks about Nikki Ash's challenge. Carmella said she spoke with Zelina and they accepted. Carmella comes right over and to Ripley, but then says the tag match between the two would be no problem once Nikki got in the ring. They didn't even do the Styles versus Aziz match, which they promised. They just announced. The commentator said that Crews demanded the match during the commercial break, so that's what we get instead, which 10:42 of that wasn't bad, but at the same time, it when you can't even go segment to segment, that pretty well makes no sense. Styles is in control until Cruz drops him on the apron before a break. Styles then fights back with a Pele kick, a couple of strikes in the forearm, and a Yoshinogi for near fall. Cruz comes back with a sit-out powerbomb for a 2 count. Styles responded with a moonsault into a reverse DDT. But Aziz pulls Cruz from the ring. Styles then goes after him, but Cruz hits a fireman's carry on the apron for a near fall. They trade moves until Styles hits a Styles Clash for a pinfall win. Finishing sequence is clunky, but I guess it's fine. After the match, Styles lays out Aziz with a phenomenal forearm. They air cell phone video promo of Seth Rollins did from his home, and they just killed time with that. Rollins is out with COVID. And Kevin Owens promo. Owens is in great mood. He's claimed that he's won a big match at Madison Square Garden last night. Was advised us not to look it up. He lost to Edge in a cage match. That's the truth. Owens then said he's the only one in the upcoming title match that's here tonight, and that made him smarter than Rollins, tougher than Big E, and stronger than Bobby Lashley. He said he couldn't blame them for not wanting to be in Detroit. He said he went on for a bit before saying he would be the next WWE champion. MVP then interrupts, issues a warning on behalf of Lashley, and called Owens stupid for thinking that he would win on Saturday. Owens then said his mom thinks he's special. Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander entered. Owens basically cut the promo and challenged Alexander to a match before they could do it themselves. Anyway, so we go to Owens defeating Cedric Alexander with Shelton Benjamin in 3:16. Minor offense for Alexander. Owens wins with a pop-up powerbomb and a stunner. Owens then gives Benjamin a stunner after the match. And then the Dolph Ziggler entering after commercial break, and upon return, Mike Rome is in the ring and introduced a Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch video package. They air a promo by Damian Priest from earlier today. He said everyone was in darkness, has darkness in them, and that he does his best to control his own, but last week his darkness. Damian came out, and when his blind rage comes out, there's nothing anyone can do about it. He knows that it can work against him. But again, he's a multi-time champion like Dolph Ziggler, but he has to clear the rage, and that's cost him in the past, and the same thing would ensure that he can remain champion. Anyway, so Dolph Ziggler defeats Damian Priest, 10:23. Priest sends Ziggler over the barricade into the timekeeper's area into a pile of chairs. Leads to another break 3 minutes into the match. Ziggler hits a famouser short of the break for near fall. Priest comes back with a spinning heel kick before elbows, flapjack, and broken arrow for a 2 count. Ziggler reverse choke slam into a roll up before hitting a leaping DDT for 2 count of his own. Ziggler begins taunting Priest. That causes Priest to turn into a cartoon. Priest hammers away on Ziggler in the corner. Ref calls for DQ because he wouldn't stop beating him up. After the match, Priest drives Ziggler into the barricade before giving him a reckoning. And then we go to the wedding renewal. Bischoff enters to music before the break. Bischoff's happy to be back and introduces Miz and Maurice. Miz trips on his way to the ring. Miz, Bischoff, and the crowd get a laugh out of that. Maurice enters next wearing a fancy white dress. Miz helped her into the ring because he tripped, so he figured she might. Miz insults Ed and speaks about Maurice and puts over Bischoff. Maurice then speaks about Miz, and the crowd booed over her vows. Maurice then said she wanted him to beat Edge and asked if he wanted to continue being married. Miz claims Maurice didn't speak a word of English when they met 15 years ago, and so he poorly did his vows in French. Maurice let him know that parts of his speech were in Spanish. She let him continue in English. Miz says that if he was a woman, he would want to marry Maurice. He asked if she wanted to continue being his wife. The crowd boos when she said yes. Bischoff is happy. He asked if anyone had any objections. Edge interrupts. Edge claims he wasn't here to cause trouble. He's ready to beat Miz's tail at day one. Miz and Maurice said they knew Edge would interrupt, but they wanted to give him a front row seat to what true love looked like. Edge admitted that he's got the upper hand the past few weeks, but he planned on embarrassing Miz at day one. Edge asked if he wanted a white wedding. Bruised music goes off and black liquid drips from the ceiling, covering Miz and Maurice. Edge laughs, and they close the show. Horrible way to send home to a pay-per-view, but with all the COVID-related stuff, I guess they didn't feel they had much of a choice. Anyway, we'll be back with more right after this.